Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell, and I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings, and this is Ben and Barry on football.
I'm Ben Dickerson, and we're about to do the matchup show for week 3.
The matchup show, week 3 coming up. Man, look. We're past halfway through what we call the second preseason. Every game now, we should see improvement in some of those teams that kind of stumble into the first game, to the second game, to see whether or not, they can get their act together and be competitive.
And we may see some teams that had success early begin to falter.
Yes, there's a dark side. There's always a dark side, isn't it? Well, anyway, let's get ready to kick this off here with the Thursday night game. So, what you're seeing here, we are at the social media for the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings. At the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings, I produce what's called the Bias Plus, and this is the Bias Plus report. This is trying to get a little bit better at getting this information out so that people can see it. So if you're on Facebook, or even if you're not on Facebook, if you can find the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings, it is a public page. You can actually see all of the information that we're talking about here. So, Ben, let's kick it off with the Thursday night game. We've got the Tennessee Titans visiting the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tennessee has a net point bias in their favor of 43 points. Again, the bias is the difference between the net points of the two teams that are competing. For example, if Team A has a net point of 50, Team B has a net point of 25, the bias goes to the team with the 50 net points by the number of the difference, which is 25. So that's how that basically works out. We do the same thing for the turnover differential, where the team that might have +6 in their turnovers, the other team might be -1 in their turnovers. So that would favor the team with the 6 by the difference, which is 7.
Correct.
So that kind of gives you the simple math. This is simple but powerful math. This is not where you have to figure out, whether someone's doing a fancy algorithm and you don't know what's going into it. And again, with the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings, it's purely quantitative, no opinion.
Or conjecture.
Or conjecture, much less. Certainly no conjecture to the situation. So, but there is some opinion that as far as what we think about the facts that we're looking at. So we might like them, we might not like them, and there might be reasons why you might think, and again, I look at this as a baseline for information. You might look at this and say, okay, that's true, but
right. I mean, let's face it, I'm one of the more opinionated guys most times. So, this is where I get to flex my muscles a little bit.
The Bias Plus score favors the Titans. They have a 51 in their Bias Plus score, and it's favoring the Titans over the Jacksonville Jaguars. What say you?
I say I'm going to go with the bias on this one. I kind of have to. Jacksonville's got a little controversy in the locker room. Guys on the sideline yelling at the head coach, wanting to be traded and all this, that, and the other. Although Mr. Minshew has looked pretty good as the backup quarterback to Nick Foles, the Titans have looked really good on defense, and Mariota's playing well. Their run game is kind of going. Everything is coming up roses for Tennessee right now, so I'm going to stick with them.
I was a little, Tennessee won big against the Browns, who looked a bit discombobulated in that first game, especially relative to their ability to control the rush. So I was interested to see how the Titans would fare in their second game. Okay, they did not look as superior. They didn't look like the overpowering team.
Okay.
And relative to Mr. Minshew, who actually, again, I'm kind of favoring him. I'm wishing the best for him, but I think his numbers might have been padded a bit with the little quick passes out to the running backs and stuff like that.
Okay.
Let's keep it short, boom, 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 which makes sense. You got a guy coming in, hadn't played, makes sense, but it makes his numbers look like he's, Tom Brady, his average, you have to look at his average, depth of his passes and things
Absolutely.
like that. But Titans at 51. That's what it says there, and so I'm with that also. I mean, the bottom line is that the Jaguars have issues. They're going to have to work some of those issues out in order to win this game. So big time. I'm with that. Let's take a look at next game up. And we have the Cincinnati Bengals at the Buffalo Bills. 40 net point bias favors the Buffalo Bills. A 1 turnover differential favors the Buffalo Bills. That's a 41 bias plus score in favor of the Buffalo Bills. Ben, you've been an advocate of the Bills' defense.
Absolutely.
What about their offense?
Their offense is very basic, which is fine for me. They have a good running game, not a great running game. They got a young guy, Singletary, and they got a really old guy in Frank Gore. Between the two of them, their ground game, and they have a quarterback who can run and has been very successful running the ball. Between the three of them, that gives them an above average run game as far as I'm concerned.
Quarterback is a little beastly in his run game too. We'll talk about that in the next session that we do, where we're going to go through our social media and we'll talk about some things, in terms of observations and stuff. But a little beastly in that run game. So Buffalo, now they're in the division with the Patriots, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so let's keep everything sort of in perspective.
I can't wait for that matchup.
Well, what about this matchup? The Green Bay Packers at the Denver Broncos.
Can we do Dallas and Miami first?
Can we do Dallas and Miami first? Are they first? Oh, yes, they are. Okay. Let's skip back to...
Not that I really want to do Miami game, but...
Well, we could always come back to it. Then it's 1 o'clock. Dallas Cowboys at the Miami Dolphins. There's a 120 net point bias in favor of the Dallas Cowboys.
Holy smokes.
A 7 turnover differential in favor of the Dallas Cowboys. I do believe is the highest bias plus score of the weekend at 127 favoring the Dallas Cowboys.
That is correct. That's quite a bias plus. What I like to say is there's nothing to see here. Dallas has been very impressive, especially offensively. That's got everybody's eyes big and everything, but their defense is gelling very nicely. Miami won't put up much of a fight here. I don't see this being any kind of a game.
All right. Not much to see.
Unless you're a Dallas fan and you just like to see them look good.
All right. Green Bay Packers at the Denver Broncos. 22 net point bias favors the Green Bay Packers. They have a differential and a turnover of 4 over the Broncos, giving them a 26, bias plus score, which favors the Green Bay Packers.
I was a little worried about the Green Bay game last week when they played the Vikings. I really was. But after seeing what I saw, Denver doesn't scare me as much. The 26-point bias is not that big, but I believe that the Packers are slowly working their way through the second preseason, as we like to call it, and the offense is coming together. The big surprise, and it's only week 3, so I'm still going to call it a surprise, that a lot of people still do not believe in, is the Packer defense. It's for real. They should get the job done on the frozen tundra. No big deal.
Okay. So is Flacco is he gonna become like Eli and be the old guy that gets sat down because he's just not getting it done and they got the young guy sitting there the whole time? I don't think that the young guy there with the Denver has shown what Dan, as much as Dan Jones showed.
He has not.
So
he definitely has not.
And he came from a different college system, which is making it a little more difficult for him to adapt to the NFL with the call playing the way it calls.
Something's making it difficult because there's not even a hint. Of course, I don't live in Denver, but as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I know, I haven't heard a hint of dissension about Flacco being worried about his job. Some of the fans are calling for Drew Lock, but I don't think he's ready.
All righty. Let's go to the Indianapolis Colts at the Atlanta Falcons. The Colts are favored across the board with an 8 net point bias in their favor. However, I do have an asterisk next to that because both teams are in the negative in net points.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
I try to make sure I point that out. There's a 3 turnover differential bias favoring the Colts, so they have a bias plus score of 26 in their favor. But yes, negative points all the way around there. There you go. What you got?
Well, if you look at the rankings, the Colts are sitting at number 16 overall in net points. So they're close to the middle of the pack. They're closer on the verge of bumping up to the plus side. So although this bias is small at 11, I think the Colts have a little bit more to offer than the Falcons. And they're going to have to be careful because Matt Ryan and Julio, that connection. The problem with the Falcons is they haven't gotten the run game going. And Swiss cheese defense. So I got to stick with the bias and go with the Colts.
Now, the Colts have starting at quarterback.
Mr. Brissett.
Who played pretty well.
He has been playing well.
He played pretty well. So
he has been playing well.
There hasn't been a big drop-off from Luck.
No, well, you know, it's so hard to say because Luck was such a big, strong, dynamic guy. And Brissett is he's a completely different type of quarterback. But they're still running the system as far as I can tell. I don't think they've made a lot of changes to compensate. So I really like what's going on, and I think it's a tribute to Brissett that he's able to carry this offense basically the way that it was.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, and he got, being that he was a second string guy, he got that extra time in during the preseason.
Yes.
All righty now. My intriguing game of the week. Let me tell you, when you have 2 quarterbacks who are as young as these 2 quarterbacks are, putting up the kind of numbers that these 2 young guys are putting up, and then they come together for a matchup, and you're like, man, they have last year's MVP, league MVP, 50 touchdowns. However, Baltimore Ravens at Kansas City Chiefs, there's a 23 net point bias favoring the Ravens.
Okay. Should we be surprised at that?
I think so. I don't think you would have thought that last year coming before this season, at the end of last season, looking forward this season, I don't think you would have seen. Who really saw Lamar Jackson passing the ball the way he has been passing, beside the people that maybe were up close and personal or there in camp or there last year or whatever. You know, I think he's somewhat surprised most people. You know, as he said, not bad for a running back. That's what he said. There's only a 0 differential. There's no favor in terms of turnover differential, so that 23 points converts over to a bias plus score of 23, which favors the Ravens, but they are at Kansas City.
Ooh, which makes it even more intriguing. Now, for all those folks out there that are trying to poo-poo the Baltimore Ravens record at this point because of who they've played, this is the game where they can prove that they belong where they are in the rankings, our rankings, and in the NFL.
Hey, nothing like being ranked. Where are they ranked? Baltimore, second in net points, only to the great Tom Brady and company.
First in points for, second in points against. Boom, bang, boom.
Yeah, that's
all you Mahomes lovers out there, keep your fingers crossed. This could be an upset.
Would it be an upset? Wouldn't be a net point upset.
Wouldn't be a net point upset. That is correct. So I'm going to play it safe, and I'm going with the bias again. But I'm really weak this week, man.
Oh, man. Going with the bias irritates the hell out of this guy, which is fine.
I mean, probably if there was a game I was going to go against the bias, this should be it. But kudos to John Harbaugh and their offensive staff, man. Lamar Jackson, who is that guy? Like, he's not the guy that was there last year. And I don't see this super magical. I think they really fed us a line of bull with this super magical catered system. Yeah. No. They just went back.
Good fundamentals.
Good fundamentals. They fixed this throwing motion a little bit.
If they're able to maintain this, does that put John Harbaugh in the running for Coach of the Year?
Oh, well.
Mayhaps.
Again, that usually goes strongly with wins and losses and playoff berths and those kind of things. But right now, I'm going to say he's done a masterful job with Lamar. No doubt about it. Got him weapons. Man, they're fun to watch.
Well, let's talk about coaches, as we have the Oakland Raiders at the Minnesota Vikings. Gruden. Gruden came out first game. We don't need no stinking Antonio Brown, man. And they got it done, man. They got it done.
They played well.
They played
How'd they do last week? I forget. Oh, that's right. They played Kansas City. Oh, dear. Yeah.
But, hey, that was Kansas City. That's another step right there. However, 21 net point bias favors the Vikings. 2 turnover differential favors the Vikings. It gives the Vikings a bias plus score in their favor of 23. And it is in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So should be nice in the dome.
Nice for the Vikings.
Nice for the Vikings. It's about the Vikings run game.
Absolutely. It's all about the Vikings run game because Mr. Cousins ain't looking so hot. Now, the first time when he completed 8 out of 10, we're like, oh, he's so efficient. And I'm thinking, like, 10 passes. When's the last time? I'm not even going to ask that question because nobody can answer it. When's the last time in an NFL game, a real game, the winning quarterback completed 8 out of 10 passes?
Right.
Or even threw 10 passes, regardless of how many he completed. That's crazy. I'm going Minnesota. I just don't think Oakland has enough firepower for them. Their defense is too good. And their ground game is far too good.
We shall see, because Jacobs for
Josh
Jacobs for the Raiders. I'm looking forward to see him continue to improve, continue to help lead that team. So
I mean, if they're going to have any future, he's going to be leading it most likely.
More than likely. So not a bad matchup, but that is definitely favoring the Vikings in terms of net points. All right. This is going to be a quickie bet. I don't think we're going to have to talk about this one for a long, long time because the pros and the cons here. Well, wait a minute. Well, okay.
It's the second highest bias.
It's the second highest bias. Yes, absolutely. At 94 net points. 1 turnover differential favoring the Patriots as well as the net points favoring the Patriots, giving the Patriots a bias plus score of 95. That's pretty high. You got the third string quarterback coming in for the Jets. You got a second string safety. I don't think their safety's coming back this week. However, Le'Veon did what he could. It was a gallant, attempt for him. They're going to have to do so much more with him if they really want to overcome that. But this is where Gase gets to prove his coaching. He laughs.
Fantasy implications. Real quick. New England is stacked. New England is stacked. They probably have the number one defense in the league, according to us and according to the NFL and according to fantasy. Okay? They got all that locked down, and they are stacked on offense. This becomes a problem in fantasy. If you have Sony Michel or James White as one of your running backs, you do better with Sony Michel because Rex Burkhead is what we call vulturing touchdowns and carries away from James White. This could quickly change, and James White could have a big game, and Sony Michel could have a light game. So although you want Patriots on your fantasy team, it can get a little tricky. Also, Josh Gordon came out of the gate fast. Then he went and got AB. Now all of a sudden you got Josh Gordon. You've been playing him in your flex spot or as a starting receiver. Now all of a sudden his numbers seem to be going down.
But what I understand, it seemed as if the Patriots were doing something they don't normally do, which is to make a point of trying to get the ball to any one particular receiver. Like they were trying to get it to AB. I think they want to get what they can out of AB before he winds up on the commissioner's exempt list, or
before he implodes or something,
or does something AB like. But because there's a second charge now, or second claim against him for sexual assault. You know, I think they were supposed to meet today with the first lady, young lady, and with Antonio. So his drama continues. So I think they're going to get everything they can out of him. He wants to play because from what I heard about his contract, it's built upon him playing
week by week.
Yeah, So that whole thing about forcing your way out of one franchise to another franchise, yeah, he was successful in that, but he definitely does not have the same level of contract that he walked away from in terms of guaranteed money, things of that nature. So he wanted out. He got out. He's got a shot to win the Super Bowl because the Patriots are contenders.
Absolutely.
You know, if you win the Super Bowl, it might make it all worthwhile.
And all that sounds great and all that makes sense. And when they asked Bill Belichick, he said, no, we just ran the game plan.
Belichick's going to give you nothing. He gives you nothing. And
it's a regular game plan.
As far as I'm concerned, it's what makes him
force the ball to one guy.
I love that guy. Man. He's like, Antonio. Oh, he played good. That's about it. That's it. You might get that from him, and they might not. All right. Dallas Lions. Jeez. Detroit Lions at the Philadelphia Eagles. Is this the smallest? No, there's one bias equal to this.
Yeah, can't get much lower than one unless it's a 0. I don't think I've ever seen that.
2 net point bias favors the Detroit Lions. A 1 turnover differential favors the Eagles, making a bias plus score of 1 in favor of the Detroit Lions. Man.
I want to take the Eagles so bad. And they're home, too.
They didn't practice. I don't know if you saw the reports. Their normal padded practice for, I think, today.
Yeah. They
decided to skip that and do a walkthrough because of the numbers of injuries and things that they had.
Ooh.
So, our young boy Corey Clement is out with the shoulder. Corey, I talked to his dad. I hadn't gotten back. I don't know how, what his status is, but I know he's out. Then you've got the Alshon, he's out. And then, and of course, D-Jack, he's out. So, Ortega, Whiteside, JJ.
Yeah, he's got to step up.
Yeah,
people like him, though.
I like him.
I've been hearing a lot about him.
We'll see how he does against the starters now,
Yeah.
He has his shot. But, yeah, he looked good. He's got the size, all that kind of good stuff.
I mean, Detroit's defense is nothing really to write home about. So, I think this will be a good game. But I think the Eagle fans are going to go home unhappy. I believe Detroit's going to come through. The Eagles secondary is just a mess. And Stafford and the boys will probably get it done through the air. That's the way I see it. I don't know.
All right. Now, this is a very interesting game.
What a game.
This is an interesting game. First of all, we don't know what Cam's status is. Let's just run through the numbers. There's a 3 net point bias favoring the Cardinals. Cam should be ashamed that the Cardinals with Kyler Murray have a net point bias, and even if it's only 3. Come on now. A 4 turnover differential favoring the Cardinals. A 7 bias plus score favoring the Cardinals. Now, let me say this much. So bad, I want to create a meme
Of
Cam at the podium after the game
oh no.
with a scarf on, and
Yeah.
hair sticking out of everywhere.
Have you seen that?
And I want to just put up the top, leader of men.
I actually think I saw it didn't say leader of men, it said, and this guy's a leader, or it said this guy's the captain or something like that. Yeah, it's
Follow me. Hold myself scarf first.
I try not to critique these guys too much on their little personal style and all that crazy stuff, you know. Russell Westbrook is one of the weirdest dressers I've ever seen. But Cam is right up there. That being said, as of this recording, he has not practiced. He was in a walking boot the other day. I don't know if the boot's been removed or not. Tune in Friday and find out fantasy-wise if you're going to play him. If he practices on Friday, there's a good chance he'll play. If he doesn't, or he has a limited practice, he may or may not play. You better look for another quarterback.
What makes it even funnier is that coming out of the first game, the Cardinals had a net point of 0.
Okay.
Remember, they tied.
Yeah.
So they were still able to have more net points.
Well, Kyler Murray has shown improvement
Kyler Murray has shown
each week.
Now, you know, what happened last week, we had the Panthers. I think they were slated. They had the net point favor last week.
Okay.
But your man,
Jameis, famous Jameis, came through. No picks. Went to work on them boys.
Jameis came through, and Christian McCaffrey
Didn't.
Man, he averaged like 3 points a carry, man. And I don't know what's going on. He had the one where he was going for the end zone, and once they got him running laterally, he just ran out of space. He couldn't turn it up at all. They just couldn't get that thing going at all. And then you got Cam. You know, you don't know what he was playing through.
Yeah.
Beforehand, so we're talking about his foot now, not his shoulder.
Right.
So, but it's
the Buccaneers defense really isn't terrible. They're 19 in points against, but you know, he threw a couple pick sixes, so that he worked against himself there. Yeah,
well,
that doesn't look good for Carolina. It really doesn't. I'm going to go with Arizona to get their first win and watch the Kyler Murray highlights.
Air raid, baby. Air raid. We want to see the air raid in action. All right. Speaking of air raids, I think the Giants here, are they ready to duck for cover or not? Are they coming out big time now? They got Daniel Jones in his debut against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Jameis gets a chance against, a rookie to show their thing. They got a 24 net point bias in their favor. However, that net point has an asterisk beside it, Benny. Got an asterisk beside it, which means both teams were in the negative in net points. The Bucs were just less negative than the Giants.
Because the Bucs looked better last week than the Giants.
Turnover differential favored the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They were one of the worst in turnovers last year. So that's, an interesting and good place for them to be at.
Yeah.
So, something, sometimes I do the math on this and I don't know what the heck I did, but somehow I came up with 3. I copied it down. It should be 27 there. So we'll fix that.
I have 27.
You know, I just didn't do it correct. But I won't fix it right now.
Oh,
Let's move on to the next one. We have the bias report. Houston Texans at the Los Angeles Chargers. 4 net point bias favors the Texans. 3 turnover differential bias also favors the Texans, and which, what am I doing here? That's a 7 bias plus score.
Net point bias of 4, turnover differential of 3.
For the same
that
team.
would be 7.
That would be 7. So I don't know what the heck I'm doing there. We'll fix
No, it's
that.
not for the same team.
Oh, that's why.
That's why.
Okay.
Chargers have the bias. Texans had the turnover bias.
Okay. Thank
there
you.
you go. You're okay.
Yeah, no, I'm not, because I screwed that part up. But in any event, long story short,
The bias plus is 1.
that's like nothing. You know, that's like nothing.
I think I found my game. I'm going to go against the bias.
The Houston
Yeah.
game.
I think I found my game. I'm going to go against the bias.
So
The
let me
Chargers-
reread this again.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So the Chargers have a net point bias of 4 in their favor.
That is correct.
The Texans have the turnover differential bias of 3
That is
in
correct.
their favor, leaving the bias plus score favoring the Chargers with a score of 1.
Of 1.
So that's close, and you're saying you're liking
I'm liking the Houston Texans in this
Texans.
game. Yes. Number 1, the bias plus is only 1. And the Chargers have not played convincingly enough for me. I like the Chargers. I really do, offensively. Defensively, they're a little hit or miss. Where they at points against? They're number 12. Okay, that's cool. But Deshaun Watson, if they can keep him on his feet, I think we'll have something for that secondary. I really do. And the Houston run game has turned out to be far better than I expected it to be. Before Lamar Miller got hurt, I wasn't really looking for much out of him. Then he gets hurt. They have to make moves. They bring in Duke Johnson,
right.
kind of proclaim him as the starter. And then all of a sudden, bing, bang, bong, Carlos Hyde lands in their laps. And he has now overtaken Duke Johnson as the starting running back. I like him.
Well,
I like him.
you know, a former Niner. Anytime you have a former Niner, I love to give them props on that. They have, and I'm trying to pull it up real quick, the guy who replaced a defensive end that replaced Clowney.
Okay.
He had a good game.
Did he?
Yes, he did.
Okay, cool.
They're getting pressure from that side of the field, and that's a bit of a surprise. I don't think that people were expecting, anything.
That guy to step right in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and get that done.
Mm-hmm.
So, is it Merciless? Is that his name?
He was already on the team. Wait, he was D tackle. They moved him to end?
They might have.
I could be wrong. I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure Merciless was already on the team.
We'll get that,
But,
I'll figure that out.
Okay. Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
He's a veteran player. He's good.
Yeah. So they are getting pressure. I remember that part of it. So that was a bit of a surprise. Let's move on. All right. Yes. Let's move on. Niners, Pittsburgh.
Woo!
Pittsburgh's
That's
coming
nice.
to Levi Stadium to meet up with the Niners, who have a 70 net point bias in their favor, a 2 turnover differential bias in their favor. That's giving them a 72 bias plus score of 72, favoring the San Francisco 49ers, who showed up with the power run game.
Yes.
With even by committee, down to the third running back, running it down. They ran it down the Bengals' throats last week, even when they were up big, and the Bengals knew they had, that was what they were going to do for the most part. Still couldn't stop it. Now, Big Ben, Roethlisberger is out.
Done.
Okay. Their backup. You know about him?
Yeah, he's been on the team for a while. So system wise and all that stuff, I don't think it's going to be a big deal. He played well in the preseason. His name escapes me right now, but I do know him.
72 net point of bias plus score of 72 for them for the Niners. So he's going to have to come in and grow up fast.
First of all, they weren't playing that well when Ben was playing.
That's true.
That's not good right there.
That's true.
Their defense is a bit in a shambles, actually. If the Niners can establish the run game again, which I don't see any reason why they wouldn't attempt to, since that seems to be their game right now and their strength, they should have their way with these guys. I don't see how Pittsburgh could possibly win this game. You got
Pittsburgh brought the safety up from the Dolphins.
Yeah,
it was there. It was the number one pick for the Dolphins.
Yeah, they need more than that
last year. And so he's going to start. He's going to play, brother.
He's good.
He's going to play. Yeah.
He's good.
So what did you think when you found out that they traded number one draft picks to bring this safety on board with the Steelers after Roethlisberger was out? I mean, to me, that just added up to the Steelers saying, we still think we can be competitive this year, or in order to be competitive, what we want to do is
shore up our defense.
Shut people down, shore up the defense. Right. And if we can, they probably crunched some numbers and probably said if we can score, let's say 20 points, we can win games by 5, 4, 17 to 20, things like that. We can be in the game even with this, with the backup quarterback.
Well, they have no chance if they can't stop anybody. Besides Roethlisberger, the offense is still intact. They still have James Conner. They still have Juju. They're looking for more from James Washington. They have to shore up their defense, which has been lacking and giving up points like crazy. And let's face it, I don't see anything wrong with that. The guy was a number one draft pick. He was a first rounder. So you give up a number one pick to get him. He's still what? He's only in his second year. Mason Rudolph, that's the quarterback.
Right.
So again, Mason Rudolph, having been in their system for quite a while now, he plays well in preseason. He knows the system. They're expecting James Washington to start playing a little better than he has in the first 2 games because he's one of those guys that, have a backup quarterback, ask somebody to hang around with him after practice and throw balls. James Washington was that guy. So they have a good rapport. That's a fantasy note. But, yeah, if they can't stop anybody, then they're going to have a tough time winning games. And bringing this guy in is a plus, but I don't think it'll be enough to get him through this game.
Well, part of the challenge for the Niners is getting out of the division. The Saints are coming to our division rivals, the Seattle Seahawks.
How you like your sleeper team so far?
You
still hanging there with them?
You can tell I really screwed this up because I got the Seahawks, I got the Niners here. I don't know what I was doing on Facebook.
What the heck?
I don't know what I was doing on Facebook. However, we do have the correct numbers where Seattle has a 19 net point bias, 1 turnover differential bias. Seattle's favored with a bias plus score of 20. So long story short, kind of like with the Niners, run game, better defense than what most people expected. Unlike the Niners, we expect good quarterback play from Russell Wilson. We weren't, the question is Garoppolo, is he going to come out and do better than what he did in the preseason? Even in terms of game 1 where he threw the pick 6 and things of that nature. But we are talking about a big time Well, now you got Breeze out. So we got Bridgewater coming in. Taysom Hill. We don't know how that's going to wind up.
From what I'm hearing, it's going to be a two-headed monster. Now, I'm real interested to see what kind of package they put in for Taysom Hill. But supposedly both of them are going to play. And the old adage is, if you got two quarterbacks, you don't have any. So we'll see about that.
Well, but they worked it well with Breeze in there with Taysom Hill.
Different. That's a whole different thing.
Well, you got two quarterbacks.
That's a whole different thing. He's not just going to come in just to run Wildcat stuff now. He's going to really play quarterback. He's going to have to really play quarterback. The threat of him doing something crazy and then coming back with Breeze, that's gone now. He come in, do something crazy, and they come back with Bridgewater, and it's like, oh. If he's going to be their quarterback in the future, which is what they claim, now's the time.
No time like the present.
Right. I mean, you can't throw the whole playbook at him, although he probably knows it. He's been around long enough. He's in the quarterback room. They may surprise you. He might start this game.
Taysom?
Yes.
I don't think that's
what they have not named. As of this morning, it's the Saints. It's on the ticker. Have not named their starter yet. As of this morning. Now, I'm not looking at my phone right now. Something may have changed, but they had not named their starter.
It would be funny if the Saints came out running the Ravens plays like, we got Taysom Hill back here. We got a Lamar Jackson lookalike.
It could be some semblance of that. It could be.
All right. The Los Angeles Rams are going to Cleveland. The Los Angeles Rams have a 31 net point bias in their favor, a 5 turnover differential bias in their favor, giving them a bias plus score in their favor of 36. And I believe that this is one of the serious, it's going to be a serious test for the Browns. You know, where you got, a good team now. So you're not talking about the third string quarterback.
No, it's going to be more serious than they can handle. It's going to be a little bit more serious. Rams points against, number 7. Rams net points, number 7. This is going to be a rough one for Baker and the boys. I'm glad Odell got off last week. It looked real pretty and all that. They're going to have to play better than that to beat the Rams.
They're going to play better than that. Somebody's going to have to do something with the Rams' defensive tackle there.
Aaron Donald?
Yeah.
Mayfield's going to be wearing him like a shirt.
Well, Drew Brees is out because of, hitting his hand on Aaron Donald's all up in his face.
That's a freak accident.
Yeah, but it's not a freak accident if Aaron Donald isn't in his face. That's where Aaron Donald winds up in most cases, even against double teams. So I agree with you. The line, which is questionable for the Browns, is probably one of the bigger question marks. And the ability of, a Baker Mayfield to be mobile enough to handle that type of pressure. I don't know.
I mean, he's mobile enough, but he's going to be under duress. So he's going to need all that mobility. And although he is mobile, he doesn't throw the ball well on the move. At least he hasn't this season.
Yeah, last season I think he did a little bit better.
Yeah, this season he's been having some problems.
Yeah, this season hasn't quite looked the same. Well, speaking of not looking the same, Chicago Bears at Washington. Now, the Bears have a 10 net point bias in their favor. Washington has a turnover differential in their favor, so that's a bias plus score favoring Chicago by 9. That is small. Mitchell Trubisky has not looked good. The Bears have not looked good. However, Washington is going to have to deal with the Mack machine, Khalil Mack. He's a disruptor. We know he's a disruptor. They're going to have to deal with that. AP should be running the ball this week, right?
Yes.
AP, who's probably somewhat disgruntled, having not even dressed for the first game. I thought that was a strategic mistake. For them.
Yeah, I don't know what was on their minds on that one.
I think a lot of people question that. But right now, we're looking at Chicago. That is the Monday night game. and Washington was Chicago favored in that game.
That's not a good game. And it's funny, they were probably talking about this game mostly, but
Why do you say it's not a good game? I mean, 9 is not a
I
lot.
think that's good.
So that means they're kind of evenly matched.
Well, that's because Washington plays over their heads for half a game, and then they come out and they're like, "Oh, hey, oh, Keenum, oh, no." Josh Norman gets burnt deep, and then
they play over there.
yeah, they had the Eagles 17-0. I'm in the bar, have a couple drinks. I'm like, oh.
Next thing you know, you look around, you got nothing but happy Eagle fans.
And
you're like,
screaming and yelling.
Why is supposed to end like that?
By then, I got enough drinks in me, I can take
You
it.
can handle it.
Yeah. The Bears.
Yeah. And you know something? It's funny. I went back. I was looking at. I actually wrote a blog last year talking about the Bears and complimenting Trubisky for his improved quarterback play. And then this year looked like he took a step or two back. So
This was the year he was supposed to improve and make them a bona fide contender. The defense was there. It was all up to him. He is not coming through. Still early. Oh, what they were saying about this not being a game, they were saying that the Sunday night games are so much better than the Monday night games so far. Now, we can look ahead, but, they flex those games, so sometimes they change them. But so far, the Sunday night games have been far better matchups than the I know what they were really talking about. Not just the games, but the broadcasters. And I don't really even want to get into it, but Mikey Miss was on the radio saying that he had to turn the game off. He turned on a preseason hockey game because the broadcasters was so bad.
Yeah, they weren't.
I don't worry
They
about
weren't
stuff
as
like
bad.
that.
So bad you had to go to hockey.
Yeah,
Yeah, really bad.
Yeah, he was
He could
exaggerating.
have turned on some other.
He was exaggerating.
Anyway, he's a hockey guy. So he's a hockey guy. Look here. Last week we had our choices, our Bias Plus scores.
Yes.
Let's see how we did.
How'd you do?
The Bias Plus report. What happened? Bias Plus was 62.5% correct last week.
I didn't do the math on mine. I don't know what that is.
It's a little less because
less.
we were 10. We got 10 out of 16 correct. The Bias Plus got 10 out of 16,
And I
You
got 9.
9 out of 16. So you're just a little under that. I took a quick look to say, okay, what happened here? So when I looked at the Buccaneers and the Panthers, the Bias Plus was 15 in favor of the Panthers. The Buccaneers won by 6. So we talked about this before. No Christian McCaffrey, 16 rushing attempts for only 37 yards. To me, that was one of the bigger aspects.
Yeah, McCaffrey not showing up, and the fact that we weren't thinking that Jameis was going to play that well because he hadn't, then all of a sudden he did. So those are the two big deals, two big changes there.
The Lions against the Chargers. The Bias Plus 5 favored the Chargers. Lions win by 3. So it really, that can happen. I mean, Bias Plus of 5 is not that big. So
I had that game.
When you won that one?
I had Detroit, yes.
Okay. 0 passing touchdowns by Phillip Rivers.
Strange.
What's that all about?
Strange. That's why I didn't pick them this week either.
Ooh. Vikings, Green Bay Packers. The Bias Plus favored the Vikings. The result, Green Bay wins by 7.
I had that game too.
Okay. Well, that means it'll be a fun game.
See, I don't mind going against the bias. I can be right sometimes, but.
Big game, Cousins. See, I gave him a nickname.
Big game Cousins? Come on.
2 INTs. That's the factor right there. That shot them down. And no 8 for 10, 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
2 INTs will kill you when
That much improved Green Bay defense.
The guy on the other end is Aaron Rodgers.
Hey.
That defense is much improved. Titans, Colts. Bias of 35 favored the Titans. Results, Colts by 2.
I went with the bias, and I lost that game also.
Brissett outplays Mariota.
Yeah.
Who would have?
That was a tough one to pick, man. I think I moaned and groaned over that one a little bit.
Did you?
Yeah, that was a tough game to pick because I like the Colts. The Titans are a little surprising. I was expecting the Colts to play well, and I should have took them. That's my
Well, again, the Titans were living off of the beat down on the Browns in terms of net points.
True.
You know that, and again, early. You know, we're gonna. I'm trying to take a closer look. I might even, if I ever get the time, look at that first quarter in terms of net points.
Yeah.
Over the seasons and see how that
kind of break it down.
Break it down a little bit. We'll see how that works out. Philadelphia Eagles against the Atlanta Falcons. The bias was 24. The bias plus favoring the Eagles. Result: Falcons win by 4. Factor Julio Jones.
Again, I went with the bias, so I lost. And when I lose games like this, I'm like, what am I thinking? That's a classic example of a game I would go against the Eagles.
Really?
Yeah, or even against the bias. Atlanta at home, anything can happen.
Eagles just,
I'm kicking myself on that one.
Yeah, okay. And this one right here, okay. I mean, you can't be, look, Browns at the Jets. Bias of 32 favorite the Jets.
32, that was pretty good bias.
It's a pretty good bias. Results: Brown win by 20. Oh, by the way, I believe that the Browns get the bias buster of the week.
As they should.
That's what, like 52-point differential there.
Of course, there was some circumstances.
Jets quarterback and safeties sick. You notice I have sick and injured. And OBJ goes home, baby.
One of them's out for the season. Trevor Siemian's out for the season.
Yeah, he's out for the season. OBJ walked into the stadium and said, I've been here before. Wait a minute. I did a one-handed catch right here on this sideline, right at this yard line before. Let me do that again.
He looked real comfortable.
And then, if you're going to leave one single high safety and blitz, first of all, I wouldn't have one single high safety against that offense. There's just too much talent in their receiver corps. And Njoku went out with a concussion.
Yeah.
Their tight end.
He wasn't playing well anyway.
Well, he's normally pretty good, so, but it's hard to say who wasn't playing good. They just didn't look good together, the Browns.
But he didn't look good in game one either, but yeah, you're right.
Jets down to the third string,
Yeah, that one couldn't be helped. I mean, we found out about the starter like the next day after we made the video, and then this happened and that happened. Like you said, though, Le'Veon did his best. Hopefully he can stay healthy, and they can build that team around him and Darnold, and maybe be something in the next year or two.
Hopefully.
All
right,
Jets fans.
Well, Ben, that wraps up the matchup show for this week. Any last words?
Nah, I'm good.
I'm good too. We'll see how we do in the upcoming week. We're coming from our 62.5% win ratio last weekend. See if we can.
I'm right with you.
Bit, so.
I'm right with you.
Right,
I think I went against the bias twice. So let's see what happens.
All right. Ben and Barry on football, the matchup show, signing off.